You ever wonder what your personality says about you and how you interact with your environment? Well, join me, Marissa, each week as we dive deep into the Enneagrams and its 9 different personality types. So, let's get personal. Hello, and welcome to Let's Get Personal with me, Marissa Schwartz. So today we're going to talk about type 2 in the Enneagrams. Just all about it, we're just going to dive in. I'm a type 2, so that's kind of fun. I was talking to my friend yesterday. Ooh, this camera. Got you, okay. I was talking to my friend yesterday, and because he knows a lot about it, and I was like, tell me about type 2 so I can get more information. And I'm like, he's like, I don't want to call you out and stuff. I'm like, no, call me out. So I'm probably going to call myself out and stuff because I'm a type 2, and so that's a good way to, talk about things is bringing your own personal, really good experiences into it. So for type 2s, we're just going to, the name of type 2s are usually called the helpers. There's another one, but I'm not exactly sure. I forgot what the phrase was. But they're the helpers. I like to also categorize them as the mom friend or the parent friend, the people who always want to be the one that help people. They tend to put other people first before their own personal needs. I know I find myself doing that too. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna help them, I'm gonna do this, and then stuff that you're gonna do for yourself kind of goes on the back burner. Sometimes it piles up and you're like, oh my God, I had all this stuff I need to do for myself. But then in reality, you're like, oh, how can I help my friend? Let's do this. They're the caring interpersonal types. They're generous, they're demonstrative, they're people-pleasing, but they can also be very possessive in a way. Let's see what else I'm saying. The biggest thing about type 2. So if you're female, you'll actually sometimes take the test and it will say that you're a type 2. When you're not actually type 2. Type 2 is the one that people want to be the most, or they believe they're psychologically trained that they should be a type 2 because type 2s are very mom, they're very caring. They're what society has told women that they need to be because you need to be the mom, you need to be the one who everybody looks out for everybody, but that's not always you don't need to be that way. So when people take the test, they're like, I want to be a type 2. That's what I want society to see me as. So people usually answer in ways that they believe they want society to see them as. So they'll answer in type 2-ish answers, and they'll be type 2s. But if you read type 2, if you get a type 2 as your personality type, ask your friends about it. But am I a type 2? And then if they're like, no, you don't have these personality traits, look into the next ones. This is one of my really good friends. She got type 2. And I was like, you're not a type 2. I'm a type 2. I can categorize people as type 2s. I was like, you're not one. And I was like, take the test again. You're probably a 7. So she took it again. I was like, think about it as how you actually are viewed. And she took it again. She was a 7. I was like, yeah. So for type 2s, they're very empathetic. They're sincere, warm-hearted, and friendly. Their basic fear is of being unwanted or unworthy of being loved. The biggest thing about being a 2 is you want to feel needed, the desire to be needed. I hate it when I feel like I'm not doing anything, when people wouldn't need me for something, or when I'm not needed or not loved in a way, but if one of my friends has an issue and they would go to somebody else, that's what the fears that you don't like. I don't like, and not saying there's anything bad about them not going to me. I just always want to have a purpose with somebody. One of my best friends, she broke her elbow once, and I wasn't even on campus or anything. So she calls me, and obviously she broke her elbow, it hurt, and I was like, just stay there, I will contact people to drive you to the ER, I got you. And even though I wasn't there, I liked the fact that she came to me and she was like, can you help me? It just made me feel good, and very type 2 things, being the person they come to. their basic desire is to feel loved. They want to know that people care about them, and if I know I ask people a lot, if something's like an awkward silence, I'll be like, how you doing? Or like, how are you? What's going on? Like, in a way that I want them to tell me what's wrong so that I cannot help, but I can feel like I'm needed. And I just want people to, like, you know, tell me about what's going on. So I feel like I'm still like a part, or not a part, but like a main part in their life. They're like, okay, I can tell Marissa things. So they're most generally helpful to other people, or when they are less healthy, they are most highly invested in seeing themselves as helpful. So we want to be like, I see myself as being helpful, but if you're in so each type has healthy and unhealthy traits. One of the less healthy traits for type 2 is that you have to feel helpful, that you don't feel like you have a purpose without having somebody who's gonna like need you. That's another thing. They're very much, sometimes you feel like you don't have a purpose unless somebody's gonna come to you with their problems. They're really supportive. Type 2s are very supportive people. They're gonna help, if you come to them with like an idea or something you really wanna do, a type 2 will help you achieve it. Sometimes, I know I do this a lot, is my friends will come to me and be like, I have this idea, and I sometimes feel like I kind of take charge in a way, and I never mean it like to be hurtful, but I'm like, oh, let me help you, I have all these ideas, I'm gonna give them to you, and sometimes like, they don't like take them, which, you know, of course it's their own project, but that's another thing I see myself doing a lot, is saying, oh, I'm gonna help you, like get all these ideas. Biggest type, another big type 2 character trait is that type 2s don't want to get help from others. I find myself doing this all the time. I'll take on a lot of projects that I could probably have somebody else help me with, but I'm like, I can do this all myself. In reality, I shouldn't do this all myself. I should have other people be helping me. But the fact that you don't want people to be like, oh, they need help, like they can't just by themselves. Type 2s just want people to look at them and be like, oh my God, they can do this all by themselves. They're strong, like independent people. They can take on anything. Let me ask them to do this for me. And I enjoy when people ask me to do things for them. I really enjoy it. And type 2s also feel it can be easily taken advantage of, because they're the kind of people who will be like, yeah, I'm going to help you. I will do this project for you. The people who end up doing a lot of the work in a group project. So if people in the group, I do this a lot too, if you are in like a group project, type 2s usually do the most. They'll kind of, not necessarily in a leader way. Type 2s are not always leaders, but they are the people who do the work. So if somebody's like, oh, I'll be the leader of the group, but then I'm not exactly sure what type, I gotta dive into which type, not sure exactly which type is the leader type, but type 2s are the followers in a way where the leader would be like, okay, I'm gonna take charge, what are we doing, how are we delegating it, and types would be like, let me make the PowerPoint, like let me put it all together, like if it's a PowerPoint and everyone has to like, send information to get put into the PowerPoint, a type 2 would be like, let me compile all your information, let me put it all together into one whole PowerPoint, and do that work. I find myself doing that happen in one of my classes recently, where we were doing group projects in class, and only one person, we were doing like this game, like Price is Right game, and we had to make PowerPoints that say like the budget and like how much the movie made. And my group I was with was like, okay, one person has to make the PowerPoint, and I was like, I'll make the PowerPoint, I'll compile this information, but then also like, I don't know if it's a type 2 thing or just a me thing, probably a type 2 thing, tend to go full out and do too much. Do more work because they feel like people will be impressed with them, or will be like, oh my gosh, we can ask her, like, this is really good. And then I made my slides really, really pretty and color-coded, coordinated, but like no one else in the whole class did. And I was like, okay, me, made my own background. So challenges, we're going to talk about challenges for type 2s. They're very prideful. As I said, they feel like, oh, I don't need to ask for help because I don't want to hurt my pride. They depend on approval. They depend on approval of others. If somebody didn't like me, I don't like that. I don't like when I don't think someone likes me. That kind of gives me a little bit of anxiety. And it's not like I don't need everyone to like me, but I kind of want everyone to like me. I want to be very personable. And I find myself, type 2s they like to get along with everyone. Type 2s tend to conceal certain information about themselves that they don't want other people to know because they think it will change their viewpoint on them. So if I met somebody new and I was kind of getting vibes off of them that they weren't really because I'm a huge musical theater person. So if I was getting vibes off of somebody and I was like, okay, they don't really like musical theater, I wouldn't tell them that I'm a huge musical theater person because I would think that maybe that would change their viewpoints on me. And then, later into the friendships, they get to know you and you get to know them and then you eventually will tell them. But at the beginning, you don't change your personality. You don't change your likes or interests. You tweak, you remove things and hide things that you think that this person wouldn't like, that you are really into, or you feel really passionate about because you do not want to change their views on you. They're also sometimes very intrusive. I know that I can be intrusive onto people's lives. They're like, hey, tell me everything, what's happening, when they don't want to. So the biggest defensive mechanism for type 2s is repression. I do this a lot. I like to repress negative information in my life and pretend it doesn't exist. Happens all the time. Huge in procrastinating, where I will have something, but it will be coming up and I was like, okay, let me just forget about it, pretend it doesn't exist, and then it'll all just start to pile up on me, and then everything falls apart because I've repressed all these negative emotions or stuff that I get stressed about, and I just pretend it doesn't exist. And I like to pretend stuff doesn't exist a lot of the time. I'm like, okay, let's just pretend that's not real, and it's not something I have to deal with, or it's a situation for later. Don't ever do that. Focus on self-care. But you want to suppress, type 2s like to suppress unacceptable feelings in conveying them to a more acceptable form of energy. So if it's something like, I guess we could talk about mental health. In a way, I have anxiety, and I can talk about that, something very prominent in my life. I kind of will suppress it, and I don't talk to people about it until it boils up, and then I feel like I have to talk to somebody or it's not going to do well, because these feelings are not so socially acceptable in a way. Same with if you have any mental anything that's mental health, type 2s will tend to suppress them. So anxiety or depression, and just tell themselves they're fine, it's okay, and then won't talk to anybody because society is oh, that's not good. You don't want to feel that way. So they're going to hide these emotions and not talk to anybody because they don't want people to think differently about them. That's very much. And another way I guess you could talk about 2s is they don't usually see themselves as the main characters. Type 2s are not usually the main characters. They're usually the sidekicks. As one of my friends was talking to me yesterday, it's an example. I've never seen Howl's Moving Castle, which I need to watch. I almost watched it yesterday, but I didn't have time. My friend was telling me the main character, I think her name's Sophie from Howl's Moving Castle. She's a type 2. I can't really dive into that because I don't know Howl's Moving Castle and I don't want to say anything wrong. But Anna from Frozen is also a type 2. Type 2s aren't normally the main characters in the stories, but they're usually the sidekicks. They're the ones who help you. So anyone who, I feel Fairy Godmother's probably a type 2. In a way that they're we're going to put your needs before mine. I'm just in here going along for the journey. They have a lot of fixing other people's problems, which is bad that you don't always want to be the fixing friend, but I like to be the fixing friend. If you have an issue and I can fix it, and it can be anything. It could be like your tire popped, like it's flat and we need to fix it. I don't know how to fix a tire, but I would go to Google and I would learn how to like change a tire because I want to be that person who can help you fix something. Anna from Frozen was talking about is a type 2 because she doesn't, her whole purpose is going to help her sister. She wants to help people and then doesn't put herself first until the very end when she's like, oh wait, I'm dying now. Let's go find Hans and have him kiss me, and then he turns out to be a jerk and Frozen. But she doesn't put herself first. She's like, how can I help my sister? How can I help Elsa? How can we get her? She even puts herself like she's dying and she's like, know what? I'm going to save my sister. Very type 2. Snow White, I believe, is also a type 2. Because she's also one who's like, let me help these dwarfs. Let me fix their stuff up and let me not put myself first. Spider-Man's a type 2. He is a prime example of a type 2. Because he's, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's very invested in stuff. Type 2s get invested easily. If it's something they enjoy, they will put all of their 110% into it. So Spider-Man puts all of his effort into being an Avenger. Very Spider-Man. He's like, I'm gonna save New York. Didn't read the comics. I should read the comics. But if you read the comics, a lot more type 2 personality traits come out in the Spider-Man comics. I've talked about this. They're willing to help people. They're the glue in friendships. So the person that they feel like they're keeping the friendship group together. I found this when I moved, because I moved in middle school. I moved to Florida in 8th grade, and I had a group of friends in middle school who I was really close with. And then I came to Florida, and then I went back. So I moved to Florida halfway through 8th grade. It was winter break. And then over spring break, because our spring breaks in Florida and Michigan were different, I went back to Michigan over spring break, and I actually went to my middle school that I went to and hung out with all my friends, and I think I helped in the library, in the office. And I went to lunch one day with them, and I remember my group of friends split. They kind of went in two. So they're sitting at their 2 different lunch tables, and I realized that day I was the glue in this friendship keeping them all together. So 2s are very much, the friends. They're going to be the glue, the ones who are I tend to plan. I hate being the planning friend. That's not something that I ever was. I'm really bad at making plans. But because nobody else in my friend group makes plans, I have learned to take that initiative and make plans and be like, hey guys, we're going to do this. We're going to read the whole script of Zootopia tonight. We're going to do, because I play D&D, me and my group of friends, and yet again, as I'm the person who likes to be the one, not in charge, but the helper who likes to do stuff, in D&D I'm the dungeon master. And when we read Zootopia, we all read this game Zootopia. Highly recommend. Grab all your friends, do it over Zoom, read it over Discord, read a script, do a table read like you read a script. You're on a movie or in a show of any movie or show that you like, fun times. It's great. Assign the roles. But because I like to be the one who does the things, I was the person who I assigned all the roles. I read all the direction. I read all the, I don't know what they're called in film because I'm a theater person, but the stage directions. Yeah, I read all those, and I would kind of facilitated the whole thing. Because I like to be the one who does that. Very much in D&D, I'm the dungeon master. I kind of propel the story, and there are other people that could do it, but I just like being the one that's aided. I just like being that one. So type 2s will kind of start to make the plans. If you're going to the beach, they'll probably be the ones who are I'll drive, I'll pick everyone up, carpool. kind of friends, they are the best people to have in a group. They will always be there. You can always go to them. You can look at them and be like, hey, can you help me? And they will always help you. But they can be selfish a little bit sometimes, because they'll put certain things like first, and they'll be like, okay, I want to help you, and then sometimes they don't put necessarily other people, like they put other people's thoughts in first, like before them. But they'll be like, oh, this is my thing. I don't need to have you help me. Like, this is my thing. Like, I don't need your help. They are definitely people pleasers. They also have a lot of barriers. I have a lot of barriers. And so the more you get to know a type 2, type 2s will open up to you, and they will teach you things about, you can learn things about themselves that you never knew about them. They're not very open books. They're very easy to talk to. Very easy to talk to. I find myself doing that a lot, where I'll meet somebody and then they'll end up telling me their whole like life stories. So that's why I want to go into reality TV, because I feel like I could get people to tell me a lot about themselves without even doing much. Type 2s make you very comfortable. They make you feel like you can tell them anything, and you're not going to be judged, because they're not going to judge you. They might judge you secretly. I mean, that sounds bad, but they do judge people secretly. But like, I'm not going to judge you to your face. I'm going to be like, oh, okay, I get you, I understand. They apologize a lot. I apologize so much. I apologize for stuff that I have no reason being sorry for. Because I was talking to my friends how sometimes he'll tell me, like, they'll just like tell me stories. One of my friends, when you tell you stories, he'll go on for like hours, like 30 minutes about the story that you're like, I just want to know why you went to the store. Like, why do you have a jar of peanut butter? He's like, oh, so then I had to do this. I was like, okay. And I'll zone out. And so I was talking to him yesterday, like the other day, and I was like, okay, I'm sorry for always zoning out. And he's like, why do you apologizing for it? Like, I apologize for apologizing, because they don't want you to be like, why did you not apologize, or why did you feel this way? So they'll apologize for anything, because I know that makes me feel like if I say sorry, they'll understand, like, I'm apologizing. Always also need reasons. I can't just say I'm sorry without having like, if I had to do something, I always have to have a reason. I just can't say, oh, I can't go. Also, confrontation. Type 2s are horrible at confrontation, especially with significant others or people they have close relationships with, because they are afraid if they say something wrong, this person will think negatively of them. We'll talk about the other day, I do dinner with my friends every Thursday, because I do ballroom dancing, and then we go out to dinner. I always eat outside, COVID times. If you eat inside, go, like, no judging. I like to eat outside because at least, you're not inside a building. And so I made a thing, and these other friends were like, hey, we're gonna come. And I was like, they don't usually come, and I wasn't expecting these people to come. And I wasn't comfortable right then seeing these people, because I know one of them goes to a lot of parties. Don't do that. There's a pandemic. Don't go to parties. Or he sees a lot of people who I know, these people who are my roommates from last year, who, they're not going to watch this, we're fine, they go to a lot of parties, so I know the people that my friend sees are seeing all these people that they don't even know, that they have no idea where they've been. And then my other friend went to a funeral recently, so I was like, I'm not comfortable seeing them, because my other friends, I know exactly where they've been. They don't really go places, like, and so I wasn't comfortable seeing these people, and I was like, I don't want to confront them and be like, hey, we don't want you to come to dinner with us, because, like, give you a couple weeks and make sure you don't have COVID. And I was like, I'm not going to, like, do that. So I had to, like, text my friend, and I was like, hey, I'm not comfortable going to them. I don't know what to do. What if I just cancel it? So then I kind of went to the next step and, like, was like, hey, because I was going home that weekend. I was like, hey, I'm going home. What if we reschedule? And that was probably something I shouldn't have done. Instead of like telling them personally that like I don't feel comfortable seeing them. I was going home, but like it was before the weekends when we went. But I was like, I don't want to risk getting anything with a free schedule. And then, because I had to contact my friend, he's like, no, I'm going to tell them that I don't feel comfortable with them. They're not going to be upset. And I was like, no, I'm afraid that they're going to hate me and they're not going to want to be with like my friend, which they took it. Well, I hope. I don't know. I didn't text them. My friend's a type 7. Type 7s are the people you go to if you ever need confrontation. They will do it. Everything like, went well. They understood. But I hate confrontation because I don't want them to be like, I don't want to like her. She's annoying. She's mean. They're also possessive over people they care about. I don't want to see people I care about get hurt. And I don't want them to be disappointed or anything to happen to them. So I'll kind of like, I don't have a lot of like big group of friends, but I have a small group of very close friends. And if anything were to like happen to them, I'd be very like upset. And so like, not in a possessive way where it's like you can't have other friends, but like if they have other friends, you're like, hey, who are your other friends? And sometimes like, you can always have like, my friends can all have other friends. Like it's not something that I'm like, it's weird, but like sometimes type 2s will be like, hey, can I be friends with your other friends? Because you want to be friends with, they're around. And when they do stuff without you, sometimes it hurts. I like knowing where, like, not say that I need to do stuff with all my friends all the time, but like if my friends are going to go out to eat or go somewhere, hang out, I like to be there. I mean, everyone likes to be included, but it's type 2s like to be included. It kind of stings a little bit if they're not, if they're planning something and you weren't included, or if they do something and you couldn't even go. That's happened before. Like pre-COVID times when they had a party and I couldn't even go. And it still kind of hurts. It was nothing like I was not able to even go, but like still I was like, oh, I wish I went. Like I did not like not being included. Type 2s are very much like that. They want to be part of everything. Not like the center of the attention, but they like to be a part of it. They like to be there and be included. So type 2 wing 1s are the companion. They're very people pleasers and they're kind of followers. They like to go on acceptance. Because type 1s are, talked about, they're like kind of easily angered but willing to learn, but not necessarily willing to change their viewpoints necessarily. But type 2s, like, they want to be accepted. Type 1s just really strive off acceptance. Because, yeah, my type 1 list, if we go back, type 1s are the perfectionists. Type 1s want to be perfect in everyone's eyes. They want them to see them as being a perfect person. So type 2s are the helpers, but then they want to be seen as perfect. Yet again, more type 2s want to be seen as not perfect, but as caring and like nice and somebody that people will like. Type 2 wing 1s are like, hey, I want to be accepted as being like perfect. I want you to accept me for who I am. And then type 2 wing 3s are the host. I'm a type 2 wing 3. They focus on building relationships, and they're charming and outgoing, and they really like to host stuff. They like to be like, oh, they're the planners, the people who are like, let's do this thing. I will plan. I guess we'll end it off with just a few people who are type 2s. Dolly Parton's a type 2. Stevie Wonder's a type 2. I don't remember who else is a type 2. The girl from Sound of Music. No, not Sound of Music. I don't remember. Just kidding. Anyway, but so that's type 2. So join me next week. We're going to talk about type 3s, and maybe we'll have somebody on here who can talk about them because they're type 3. Okay. Thank you so much. You ever wonder what your personality says about you and how you interact with your environment? Well, join me, Marissa, each week as we dive deep into the Enneagrams and its 9 different personality types. So, let's get personal.